Welcome back to Growth Unleashed, the podcast for pet brands that want to grow smarter without relying on paid ads. I'm Matt, the founder of Bubblegum Search.
And I'm Louis, SEO Manager here at Bubblegum. And today we thought we'd jump into the topic of backlinks. Now, we're not talking your kind of typical spammy, outdated links. We're talking about one of the most important growth levers for pet brands. Things like trusted mentions and links from your site from other trusted websites.
Yeah, high quality, high authority, trusted backlinks, yeah.
But it's 2025, they've changed a bit, backlinks have been around forever, but why do you think they're important in 2025, Matt, and what's changed about them?
Yeah, so still super important, and as you say, like links in terms of Google and the algorithm's been around since the start. It's certainly diminished the importance of them over, the last few years in particular. But, I guess if we go back, like I remember in some of the early agencies that I started at, it was super easy. Links were so powerful and so important that, you could just get any spammy link from any non-relevant site, point it to any page, and then literally that evening or the next day you would see the rankings like shoot up. If you jump forward to even about 10 years ago, like that started to diminish, and you had to kind of be a bit more selective. The quality of the site and relevancy came in. But then if you come to today or the last few years, if you do any of those kind of like lower quality, spammy, non-relevant links, they're just going to waste your time and money. They're important because there's still a big ranking factor. Yeah. Correlation's still there, is big. Ultimately, links of high quality drive credibility. They drive like trust, and they pass on that link authority from the trusted website and page back through to yours, which in turn obviously helps with rankings as well.
Yeah, and I think I'd add to that in just that it's not just kind of like the direct algorithmic ranking factor benefits that you can get from backlinks these days, whereas, I sometimes feel like I missed out on the good old days of just being able to throw any link at a page and it working.
Yeah, it was like the Wild West. It was certainly easier, but
this is more of a fun challenge.
Yeah, it's like now SEO, as we know, it's a skill, right? So, it was kind of fun in some ways, but nowadays it's actually like, you've got to have a strategy, you've got to have a plan, and as I said, the skill comes out from it.
Yeah, and I think the wider benefits kind of these days that we see from the backlinks is, they're useful for things like building consumer trust, which is, something we've talked about in previous podcasts, and that's becoming more and more relevant and important in trying to rank in both Google and in, LLM models. Getting those backlinks, it doesn't just give you the algorithmic benefit, it also gives you the benefit of building consumer trust. They're seeing you linked and talked about in the right places where they look already.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, kind of piggybacking on that is this idea as well that non-linked mentions aren't valuable anymore. I think that's completely turned on its head. Over the last few years, we're seeing more and more correlation between brand mentions and rankings rather than just like backlinks and rankings. So
yeah, definitely.
We know that there's value beyond just like getting a link from the newspaper or publication that you've been featured in.
Yeah, so as you say, like whereas it used to be like we have to get a link, like if anything other than a link isn't any value. With Google, they came out in the last few years and kind of said or hinted at that a branded mention could play into the algorithm, and I know it's hotly debated, but it looks like it has been that way for some time with Google. But what we do know for a fact is, with recent studies with the AI side of things, whether it's ChatGPT or even AI overviews or Perplexity, is the correlation with brand mentions and ranking and appearing within those searches is super high. So it's nice in that sense, because the pressure and the need just to focus solely on the link has diminished now as well. And so it's like, look, if we get a link, fantastic, but if not, and as long as we're contextually mentioned in the right way and our brand is mentioned, then that still provides a lot of value as well.
Absolutely. I kind of think, we're almost moving into the next part of our conversation, which is, where are these pet brands going wrong with building backlinks? And I think certainly right at the top of that list is the focusing on follow links only. As you said, life's kind of easier now, because you don't have to chase every time you get mentioned and basically discount it if it's not a follow. As you said, it's simply the kind of no follow instructive to Google is just advice now. Google doesn't take it as fact, so you're seeing all the benefits from those no follow or just brand mentions still.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been that like fixation for a while with a lot of brands and within an industry, as you say, like, not only does it have to be a link, but it has to be a followed link. And this must be a year or two back again, where Google came out and said, kind of slightly under the radar, but they said like no follow links will no longer be a command or directive. It is a hint. So i.e. what they're saying there is that they have the ability to pass page rank and authority or not. They get to decide, but really there's no way, if a no follow link is on like a highly trusted, relevant publication, that they're not going to pass value from that. It just wouldn't make sense to their kind of own ranking systems. So sure, like if it's a no follow and it's on like something unrelated, low quality site, then they'll probably just ignore it, or they will just they will use that as a directive. But as I say, like if it's on, I don't know, the BBC or like the Guardian or the Independent or whatever trusted source that might be out there, even if it's no follow, you can be damn sure that that's still going to be valuable and pass link authority through it as well, which is great.
Absolutely. I think the kind of no follow thing also leads into another big area that I think a lot of pet brands in particular get wrong these days in terms of backlinks, which is chasing quantity over quality. I think, again, going back to the good old days, you just needed loads of links. You needed your number of backlinks to be higher than your competitor. Whereas now,
more simplistic, I suppose, in that way.
I think, in my experience, and for a lot of people that I read online, Google's not really handing out penalties anymore for these bad, spammy backlinks. It's simply ignoring them, which almost makes it even harder to ascertain the ROI that you're getting from them if you are kind of going down that route. But certainly what we're seeing is that they just don't move the needle anymore. They need to be, super relevant, like, get a backlink from Pet Gazette for your dog food brand, that sort of thing. Yeah,
as you say, it was simplistic, and, I know a lot of brands are still focusing on quantity over quality more. Like, there's a lot, so don't get me wrong, there's lots of people out there in the marketing world who have transitioned, but still I think there's that legacy, that link legacy thinking that's still going on broadly out there, where it's kind of like, like in the grand scheme of things, it's still something to keep an eye on, the number of referring domains you've got versus competitors, but the emphasis used to be like, that's everything, whereas now it's like, that's just, take it with a pinch of salt. As long as you're getting more quality links in the right relevant places, they can be 10 times, 20 times more impactful than the hundreds of low to medium quality links, shall we say, as well. So definitely not something to be focused on anymore. And tactically, I suppose, as well, like, that's changed, again, going back a few years, but it used to just build about like low quality directories. Guest posting was hot for like many years. I mean, don't get me wrong.
The phase of mummy blogs.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I still think there's a place for guest posting, and I still think it can work. But again, it has to be, if you're doing the guest post just for the link, then it probably isn't worth it, right? But if you would want that article on that publication, regardless of the link, chances are like it's the right type to do, because again, like you might get a contextual brand mention from it on the right trusted type of publication, which is fantastic. And look, see the link almost as a bonus at that point as well.
Exactly.
So definitely is a place still for guest posts. But yeah, gone are the days of just any guest post will do as long as I earn a link type guest post, you know. And then similar, like some of the other tactics which should be dying out is definitely like paid link placements.
Yeah.
Now, again, there was always the, discussion within the community about like, oh, should we pay for links or should we not? And it doesn't matter what side of the fence, I guess, you were sitting on. It happened, and it's still happening.
Worked.
And and it did
worked
work
for a period of time.
And I'm sure the people out there are saying, well, I still do paid links. It still works for me. Look, fine. Like, you've got to calculate your own pros and cons and risks, right? But at least from our side of things, we were witnessing, I know we transitioned to doing it via digital PR over the last couple of years, but up until that point, we were just noticing links like that weren't earned particularly, were just losing their value, weren't they? They were just, again, they used to work, and, we found we had to do more and more, and we didn't know which ones were quite working, which ones were, or it was just getting a bit messy, expensive as well. And so, yeah, I would say in 2025, if you're still doing it, and especially if you've seen a lack of results from it, it probably just has stopped working. Google's got too smart at understanding what quality actually is in a link, and what's relevant and what's not. So at best you're probably just wasting your time and money, and at worst, who knows what's around the corner. It's still possible that you can get penalised for it as well. So those are kind of a few things that I guess tactically had worked and now doesn't as well.
I think other pitfalls that people can fall into, one of them I would say is like kind of going the complete opposite way to like every directory and low quality guest posts, etc., and just not really outreaching at all despite making quite good content.
No, that's a massive thing, isn't it? It's like, as you say, like you put all that time and energy and effort into the actual content strategy, the content creation, but your distribution ultimately falls flat.
There's an element of like don't ask, don't get in this, which is, I think a lot of people can take the kind of like naturally earned backlinks idea the other way and think like, well, I'll just do good content and like, eventually people will find me and link to me, and I'm like, that would be lovely, but it doesn't work that quickly. No. I think you need to be, rather than structuring your H1s through 7s on your page, like maybe send a few emails to some people about featuring you.
It's a couple of things. It's prioritization, right? And some people in the kind of marketing space, I guess, again, it goes back to that kind of like legacy thinking where, sure, like it was a quick win to, like, as you say, like update your metadata or H tags, whatever it might be. And that was kind of easier, and sometimes, and I'm not saying that's not important anymore, but I think some people got stuck on only thinking you need that or only have to do that, and it's kind of like the outreach and owning high quality links is something you do just when you have time, rather than something that's consistently that you've kind of integrated into the overall strategy. I guess as we say, the importance of like content, technical SEO, and outreach, link building, and good PR has to all be tied together and integrated together.
I don't think you can silo them like you used to. Like they all need to work together.
Yeah, and again, that's maybe not number one, but like definitely a high. What we see is like the wrong approach. All the time the wrong approach is that, as you say, like siloed way of doing. But we've got people working on the content. We've got a team doing PR, or we've got whatever, or social SEO. It's like, fine. Again, that worked fine even 5 years ago, but in 2025 you have to have an integrated approach to the strategy. And again, like coming off the back of that, it's strategically, it's like, even if you've got a good PR team, digital PR team, or even if someone in-house is doing like the outreach and the link building, great, but are they clued up to what the goals are? Are they clued up to what the content team are doing? Are they pointing those links to the pages that matter most? Because that's something we see very often. It's like,
misuse of anchor text,
or just like not, it could be like, oh, we've got some great PR coverage, fantastic, but maybe they're linking to an irrelevant blog, or just to the homepage.
Well, the homepage is a mistake that I see all the time. We see it with clients. Let's say you get a link from The Guardian to your website. The temptation, because of the way that everyone kind of understands link juice, is that you put the link pointing to your homepage, because the homepage, seeds off into all of your important service pages, etc. And that way you're spreading the link juice from The Guardian all over your website.
Oh no, not your link juice, really.
But
keep it away from us.
I get the logic behind it. But users don't want to land on your homepage if The Guardian is specifically talking about one of your services. You should be linking to your service page, because that's where they want to land. So, yeah, I think another thing that people are getting wrong that I would advise them on is just making sure both the anchor text and the URL address that you're sending them to is relevant to the piece.
Yeah, I'd say the caveat about that is, when you have the ability to do that. I mean, as we know, like through digital PR, you lose that, and rightly so, because you're owning, the exposure, you're earning any links that come your way. So, you lose control to a degree. But what you can do is make sure, if it's contextually relevant to the story, then, and where it makes sense to, then of course link back to, as you say, a service page or a category page. And don't get me wrong, there's no problem, and it's still valuable getting homepage links. It's just a slower method than having everything lined up in terms of the content strategy, in terms of the stories that you outreach, and hopefully earning a more contextual, deeper link to a page that's actually going to move the needle on the goals that you want. The grouping of keywords that you're looking to kind of push forward. So I don't know, as an example, it could be like, you've got a great story relating to the greatest hamster escapes of all time, which should be a fun read in itself.
I'd read it.
And then, you're fine. If there was a hamster brand, you could link back to the homepage. But in that story, it'd be much better contextually if you linked back to the category, the hamster cages category. So that's what, it's all kind of straightforward enough in itself. But as you're going back to what you're saying, it's the siloed method of working and thinking is still a wrong approach that we see all the time. And so, like, just simply integrating all of those in and having a coherent strategy is what makes all the difference, definitely.
Absolutely. And so, if we're getting down to practical advice, if you were a pet marketer for a pet brand in 2025, what sort of things would you look at doing? Maybe this month, basically first steps that could help you to earn your first high quality, contextually relevant backlink.
Yeah, so if I was just kind of starting out and it was more, perhaps you don't have a big team in place, or, you haven't tried something like the digital PR campaigns that we advocate, then I would just try and do something kind of on the easier side, more simplistic side. And the first thing I can think of would be like pitching to like industry publications, and like for roundups. There's plenty of them out there in every niche and topic and sector. So be on the lookout for like anyone you admire that often puts out like roundups. And of course, when it matches whatever your product or service is, someone could be doing a roundup on the best dog treats for summer. So, if you were a brand that obviously sold dog treats, then you could pitch them and make them aware of who you are and what you offer. and why it would be good for their audience, and then you've got a good chance of them being featured in the roundup, as long as you've kind of provided that value to them, and it fits the kind of next roundup they're doing, or even ahead of time. Sometimes you can see these roundups that happen periodically for publications and sites that are relevant to you, and you can say, hey, look, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we offer. I love what you've done before. I love some of these roundups that are going out. Is there anything coming up in your calendar that we could collaborate on and provide some good information and insights to? And then usually you can kind of get around. And again, even if you don't get a link from those roundups, if you're just mentioned and featured on them, it's still a win within itself as well. So that's probably a more simplified outreach tactic that I'd probably get started with, really, in the first few weeks.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of key to that is that you can almost phrase it, in that you're helping them. They might need to find these products for their next roundup, and if you can open that relationship where you're helping them with it, they'll feature you, maybe more than once. Maybe you get in every roundup. But on that idea of kind of helping people and that generating some buzz around your business. Business buzz. One of the easiest kind of targets for that, I think, is collaborating with like local organisations. So maybe again, you're a dog brand. Maybe there's like local rescue shelters, or like a kind of local dog show that gets put on.
Local pet events. There's plenty of the regionals. Yeah,
and regional publications they're easier to land links and coverage in, and they just love stuff like that. Like if you can kind of pitch in and help out, and maybe you provide something for the prizes, or a story, or something where you're involved.
Or as you say, like it could be a sponsor. You just
sponsor something, exactly. That gets you a mention, and specifically with the kind of more local, regional publications, those are often quite good targets when you're starting out.
Contextually as well, it's better, more so if you service that area, like London. If you just service London, fantastic. Then, as you say, partner with partners within the London space who are also local. And again, any coverage you earn or any backlinks you earn from that is all contextually relevant to that location, and Google will pick up on that as well.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Well, so I guess to kind of sum up, so backlinks are still one of the most powerful growth levers for pet brands, but in 2025 you have to earn it contextually, and they have to be relevant as well.
Absolutely, and I think I'd kind of say, there's plenty of ways that you can try and start this journey. The one thing I would say is something we're going to cover in our next episode, digital PR.
Oh yeah. We'll go into
is
detail.
Probably the biggest winner in terms of like generating backlinks and mentions in the press in 2025.
Definitely.
But it requires a little bit more thought, a little bit more kind of
a
effort.
bigger process behind it.
We'll talk through that in the next episode.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So if you're not sure where your brand could be featured or what to do, why not request your free PR campaign ideas from our website? Otherwise, be sure to drop any questions in the comments, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I think that's it for now, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.